Hello, hello. Thank you for coming out. I know this is a controversial topic, but it means a lot to me that you came out. I've been talking on this for about 4 years now, because it was about 4 years ago that I was on the edge of suicide, and I had all these accomplishments, some of which Stephen was just talking about. This looks so good to see all this stuff, and I'm around celebrities and I'm doing really cool things and I seem super accomplished, but I was fighting imposter syndrome. I was abused and bullied as a child. I was morbidly obese, all kinds of autoimmune issues, brain tumors, in bed for 6 months with just severe Epstein-Barr, and I was dying. I was dying on the inside. I was killing myself on the outside. I wanted all these achievements because I thought this is how I achieved love. I didn't know what love was. And I thought love was external. And it was earned through doing, through achievements. And it was my first psychedelic experience that really changed everything. It was on mushrooms, psilocybin, and I took a very large dose, 5.5 grams, and it changed everything in my life. I was in a cuddle puddle on the floor because I was deep in. Other people took much lower doses. And people were just coming into the room like one of these time-lapse videos, just encircling me, holding space for me, loving on me, asking if I needed anything. And the whole night I was thinking, why? Why would anyone do something for me? And I was at this event that was very celebrity-driven, like very big-name people, of which I was the least important in terms of people you know. And I just kept thinking, why would anyone do this for me? What have I given them? What have I proven to them? What have I shown to them of my value? And then it hit me deep in this journey that I can just have love. I can just be loved. And you can tell someone this. You could have told me that, and I would have intellectualized that and said, yeah, of course, I can just have love. I can just be loved. But until you've anchored that, felt that in your heart, that's a wholly different experience. I left that experience a very different human being, now with purpose, now with the ability to have love, and now not thinking of killing myself. So this is a very important talk to me, in that no matter where you stand on psychedelics, I'm going to go through the research, the regulations. I'm telling you my experience, and I'm going to talk about supplement stacks around these journeys. But it's very important that you understand there's people out there that are dying right now, that are on the edge of life, that are thinking of committing suicide, people that have fought for us as soldiers, first responders, rape victims, people that have witnessed terrible things, and they're on the edge of life with no options. And I just want to tell you this, there's nothing to sell in here. This is me begging for, one, people to understand the science, but two, be a part of this solution where we can have these substances in the right environment with the right facilitators delivered in the right way, but available to people that are on the edge of life, to have that as an option. So what if mental health problems like OCD, PTSD, alcoholism, and depression could be helped by psychoactive substances? This is a great question. Because again, people are suffering and they're abusing these substances to try and deal with that. Do you guys know Michael Pollan? Have you read the book, How to Change Your Mind, seen the documentary series on Netflix? Please check that out if you haven't. This guy is great at bridging the gap. He's not too woo, he's not too science, he's not going to talk over your head, he's not going to talk about chakras. He's going to talk about what he found as just a good researcher. Look at these quotes and just think on this. Participants rank their psilocybin experience as one of the most meaningful in their lives, comparable to the birth of a first child or death of a parent. That is a stunning quote. 2/3 of the participants rated the session among the top 5 most spiritually significant experiences of their lives. 1/3 ranked it the most significant such experience in their lives. For me, that is the case. I was ready to commit suicide, either directly or indirectly, through 100+ hours of work a week, literally 18-hour days of just high stress, seeking out fires, burying myself in work, not thinking I could be loved. So for me, it was that experience. And certainly that's been the case for others. Mental health and treatment statistics. Look at these numbers. In the last 5 years, 23% increase of antidepressant usage in 5 years. Wow. 308 million people globally have a PTSD diagnosis, are truly traumatized. 1 in 13 people will develop PTSD. And by the way, when I talk to people about trauma, it's not just too much too fast, it's too little too long. There is neglect as well as more intense trauma too. There's also micro trauma. Some people have big traumatic experiences, but some people have a series of micro traumas. We're all dealing with trauma. We're all having those traumas affect our constructs, our identity, and how we project ourselves into the world. 13% rise in mental health conditions in 5 years, 37% increase in suicide rates. I could have been one of those people. In the past 2 decades, 500 million people increase from last year. This is the pandemic, guys. Again, I'm going to throw statistics at you, and I want you to have just your jaw drop the whole time. 65%, almost 2 out of 3 affected Americans want access to psychedelics. This isn't just some, rogue fringe thing that's way out there. This is 2 out of 3 people want access. 83% of those experiencing anxiety, depression, PTSD want it. That's almost 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 people. That's almost everyone. But we're hearing about it like it's some crazy, recreational, fringy thing. And, hey, take some more SSRIs, which I'll get into. And then 56 to 66% are open to using MDMA, psilocybin, ketamine to treat those conditions. These are huge numbers. And we're seeing the change happen right now. This is the psychedelic renaissance, where MDMA is being studied and is in its 3rd phase trials, as is psilocybin right now. And with that comes big money. And now you're hearing big pharma say, well, let's get involved here. There's big money here. We can isolate substances. We can make these certain unique strains or combinations so that they can be patented. Of course. And these numbers are just massive. Supplements is an industry I'm in, and it has an 8% CAGR, which is a huge number. And this is 14% or even 16.3% by 2027. That's billions of dollars that are coming in. Billions. And again, like I said, this is the stage 3 on MDMA, on psilocybin. There's reform coming through. Big Pharma is trying to do something called psychoplastogens, where they remove the spirituality, remove the kind of woo experience, the serendipity, the epiphany out of these substances. And of course, make it something that increases neuroplasticity, but you need to stay on every day. So this is leading to that psychedelic renaissance. And of course, we're seeing these big three, become close to legalization. Ketamine already is clinically. Again, there's certain states where we're seeing MDMA, psilocybin being used legally for certain conditions. Canada is further ahead. We've seen Colorado, Oregon, Washington be pretty progressive on this front. But certainly there's concerns about how it's facilitated, the environment it's in. A big part of a psychedelic journey is gaining one's autonomy, gaining one's sovereignty, learning to have your voice, your truth. And a lot of people feel that authorities or an authoritarian healthcare system, this white coat syndrome, may be removing that sovereignty. So what does that look like for certainly maybe someone who is of color, maybe who's had a very difficult background and dealings with the healthcare system? What does that look like for someone who can't afford the access to these things? So this is very interesting as we're having these discussions right now. Again, stunning numbers. You're not here. Have you heard any of these numbers I'm throwing at you? Wait till I get into some of these numbers. You're not hearing about this, and yet the data's there. Think about why. Think about the things you are hearing about every day, and you're not hearing about this. When there's a pandemic of mental health going on, why are you not hearing about this? 43.8% decreased or stopped using alcohol. This is just any psychedelic. And it's basically the same numbers with antidepressants or cocaine because they felt more connected to source, if you will, to God, to nature, to friends, to family. They felt more connected. And the big lie that I always felt when I was depressed, dealing with anxiety, PTSD, was that I felt alone. I thought I was the only one going through this, that no one knew my pain. What I've come to find out is almost everyone is suffering with some kind of mental health condition, or certainly has someone in their house or that's close to them that is. Read this number with me and think about this in comparison to psychotherapy or to SSRIs or any other intervention. 71% of people in the study who took psilocybin for major depressive disorder showed greater than 50% reduction in symptoms after only 4 weeks. 7 out of 10, 70%. You know, a drug that goes through the FDA trials, if it just shows like a 1% improvement, they can push it through. 71%. At the conclusion of the study, 50% of those participants did not need to have further medical intervention, meaning they no longer met the diagnosis and they were cured. Of course, that's going to scare Big Pharma, of course. Those numbers are staggering. 58% needed no further intervention after 12 months. So this is lasting, as Roland Griffiths talks about here. This is a great researcher who is talking about kind of the spiritual side. Luckily, there's someone in academics who's talking about the spiritual side of psychedelics, these entheogens. That's a big part of this, like I was just telling you, that led to them getting off cocaine, getting off alcohol, getting off antidepressants because they felt connected to source. When you are depressed, you decrease neuroplasticity, you increase default mode, you decrease the size of your neurons, your brain cells, the brain actually atrophies. Certain parts of the brain will even shut down, looking like traumatic brain injury. So it's not just physical insults, but emotional insults that can affect the brain. But just one use of psilocybin led to a 10% increase in the number of neuronal connections, and they were about 10% larger too. One use. Again, these are like staggering numbers you're not hearing about. This is a solution for something that is an absolute global epidemic, a pandemic. Look at the brain connections globally that are happening here, just like I was talking about in the last slide. The left is the normal brain. The right is on psilocybin. All these ahas, these creative connections, these new ideas that are being connected that have never been connected before, that's happening to the brain on psilocybin. It's the brain rewiring. And they talk about the phenomenon of synesthesia, where you can see colors, where you can see music, where you can sense things in a different pathway. And a lot of this has to do this rewiring, this neuroprotection, or improving the youth of the brain is via neuroplasticity. The brain is more plastic, more malleable, meaning you can take on new tasks easier. This is fluid intelligence versus crystallized intelligence. As we get older, we get smarter via crystallized intelligence because we can find the shortcuts, get better and better at those shortcuts. But it's harder and harder for us to take on new tasks. And this is where BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is a key protein in a lot of research when it comes to anti-aging for the brain. And so this is where that psychoplastogens comes in, where Big Pharma is trying to pull out those components that are non-journey related, non-psychedelic, and isolate the components that are neuroplastic promoting. Again, MDMA. Look at these numbers. 88%, this is 9 out of 10 participants treated with MDMA had significant improvement in PTSD symptoms. 67%, 2 out of 3, no longer met the criteria for PTSD diagnosis. If you guys know any other intervention, psychotherapy, medication, anything that works this good, please tell me, because I've never seen it. And again, we're not hearing about it. And look at these numbers. This is DMT, a component of ayahuasca. You may have heard of Bufo, 5-MeO. That's a slightly different version of DMT. But DMT is a short-lived substance that's released when you are dying, and it leads to a deeper connection, probably the deepest of any substance, to source, to God, to the universe. And it's usually a very profound experience. And so these people are reporting these numbers. Look at this. 89% improved in well-being and life satisfaction, 82% life purpose, 81% social relationships, 70% attitudes about life. 88% self-improvement, 67% positive mood, 81% life meaning. This is after a 15-minute experience, not 15 years on an SSRI. So let's get into SSRIs. This has been a theory that's been promoted by Big Pharma since the 1990s, the serotonin theory. It's sold bazillions of dollars in antidepressants. That's serotonin reuptake inhibitors, making serotonin more available by inhibiting its being taken up at the receptor level. And the problem is, this isn't proven, that when you have more serotonin, that you are less depressed. Certainly, when we see depression, we see less serotonin. But the antithesis is not necessarily true. When we look at depression, all neurotransmitters are down. GABA, dopamine, histamine, endorphins, like just down the line. Norepinephrine, epinephrine, they're all down. So let's look at the meta-analyses. This is researchers looking at all the studies. There's been 2 big meta-analyses done, 2017, 2022. What do you think their conclusions were? Well, how about this? Antidepressants should not be used for adults with major depressive disorder before valid evidence has shown that the potential benefits outweigh the harmful effects. That was 2017. That's what the conclusion was. 2022. If antidepressants exert their effects as placebos or by numbing emotions, then it is not clear that they do more good than harm. Those are the 2 conclusions of these meta-analyses. I wanted to show you here this slide because people will say, oh, I've done psychedelics, I've done this substance, that substance. I want to make it clear that they work very differently, that they're all working on different pathways, that there is complexity to these, that your experience on one is not translatable to another, let alone your bioindividuality, your neurochemistry, your mindset going in your setting. Another really important point here that I would like to give to you that I've found in my personal research is the doses of these substances have nothing to do with whether I'm a guy, whether I'm a big guy, any of that stuff, my metabolism. It has everything to do with the autonomic nervous system and what state you're in. So sympathetic, fight or flight or freeze. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. When you're in parasympathetic, you can receive. You can make use of nutrients. Your body can heal itself. When you're in sympathetic, you're in fight or flight. You're surviving. It's not going to make use of these things. And you can overpower these substances. Like, for example, if you were drunk on alcohol and someone just split their head open and there was blood everywhere, you would just wake up. Epinephrine comes in, cortisol comes in, norepinephrine comes in, you're ready to go. You've overpowered it. That's the sympathetic nervous system. And that's why, for me, when I first started doing these substances, it took very large doses. Not because I'm a big guy, but because that's where my nervous system was at. I had hypervigilance. I didn't know what it was like to relax. But when I got further in, and once I started doing breath work and meditation and doing deep inner work, integration, I had the same experience on 1 gram. So this is why you might work with a facilitator and they might say, let's do a heart opener, let's do some breath work, let's do some meditation, let's relax the body. This is why it's important to feel safe with your facilitator, the environment you're in. You know, just because some guy's a great guy, great facilitator, worked with 10 other people that are your friends and was the greatest person ever, may not be the right person for you. If you have some kind of sexual trauma, you're a woman, maybe this guy isn't the right one. Maybe it's a woman. Maybe it's a couple. You have to think about these things, feel it out, like feel how you connect with these people if you feel safe. And hopefully they do a deep dive into your trauma, into your psychological history, into your medical history, and have a good understanding of all that. I would really recommend that someone is a nurse or a CNA on staff when you do these kind of experiences. So this is my research on all the ways that psychedelics work. Mostly, we've heard about number one, neurotransmitter modulation. And that is certainly an important component. But there's a lot of other pieces here. This neuroplasticity component, making it possible for you to relearn, repattern, reframe, turning off default mode network so that your ego isn't turned up and identity isn't in the way of you learning the actual truth or speaking the actual truth. Dissociation. This is one of the ways that ketamine works so powerfully, is that you can see yourself apart from that trauma. You take off the backpack of trauma that you're holding so close to your identity, putting it down, and allowing yourself to feel what it's like to not have that trauma with you. Parasympathetic state, like I said, a lot of people never, ever relax or turn off the hypervigilance. Reducing inflammation, especially neurologically. And this is something I've studied as well, is when you go fasting into the experience, you're increasing BHB, ketones. This is the greatest crowd for this, that you're healing the brain. There's studies with traumatic brain injury, with brain energetics, with brain inflammation, that are all improved via BHB. And then greater global communication of the brain, like I showed you on that one colorful image. So psychedelics are not drugs in the usual sense of the word. They are catalysts for transformation. Maybe we should reframe that word of drugs and say, yeah, that's a catalyst for transformation. Something that someone may need just one time and not go back to get that one learning, that one shift. So I'm a supplement guy. I wanted to jump into this, give stacks. There are certain clinics all over the world that are using these stacks that I've laid out here. There'll be a QR code at the end if you want to download this. So I encourage you to share it, to pass it on in whatever way. I want people to be as safe as possible. So adaptogens, I really think, are foundational because they do help your body to adapt, to have more resilience. They can be bimodal, meaning give you more energy as well as help you relax and sleep. Why? Because you're more resistant to stress. You're more optimized. This isn't a come-at-a-cost ingredient. And when we look across the world, we see ginseng is the most storied ingredient in Asia. We see Russia, it's rhodiola, ashwagandha in India, maca in South America. These are all adaptogens, so there's a reason that they're so popular. Supplements that may aid in blood flow. Niacin, ginkgo biloba, vinpocetine, etc. These are going to help blood get to certain areas that have been shut off because of trauma. Like I said, when you look at a brain scan, you can actually see a traumatized brain, whether physical insult or emotional insult, can look the same. Turning those parts of the brain back on now that are safe to can be powerful. Obviously, hydration. You hear a lot about this. You can be dehydrated. You can be constipated. This is going to be key to hydrate the body. 75% of us are dehydrated anyway, and it can be exacerbated by an experience like that. Some of these substances may be neurotoxic on a mild level, like MDMA. So I do think that this makes sense if you're going to do them, to do some kind of prophylactic type of therapy where you're protecting your brain against that. So these are the substances that I would recommend. You don't have to do all of these things that I'm recommending. I'm listing out things that are choices for you, and you can decide what works best for yourself. Because again, there's bio-individuality, there's autonomy, there's sovereignty for you. You are intuitive. Do the research, pick what works for you. So these are neuroprotective supplements, polyphenols, and mitochondrial health supplements. Serotonin, I did mention that it's not all about serotonin with depression, but I do like the idea after having a depletive experience, because it was so expansive, to replete some of these neurotransmitters, including serotonin. And there is a natural SSRI that's Canna Scaledium tortuosum that could be helpful in that, along with these other nutrients, maybe for the next several days or week. Same here with acetylcholine, especially when you're doing deep work, deep focused work. Like if you're really wrestling through something. I know I've had journeys that have been just love and light, and I've had deep wrestling, coming to my truth kind of experiences as well. In those circumstances, repleting acetylcholine will be helpful. So getting acetyl L-carnitine to donate the acetyl group, the choline, especially these bioactive forms, alpha-GPC, acetylcholine, huperzine A, which inhibits acetylcholine esterase, are all going to help to do that. Anxiolytic supplements. So these are supplements that are going to reduce your anxiety. Again, helping you get into parasympathetic. A friend of mine, I was bringing into a journey, driving her from Dallas, where I lived at the time, to my facilitators down here. And she was freaking out, like having a full-on panic meltdown. The journey starts the second you commit to it. It's not when you take the substance. Things start bubbling up that have been very suppressed in unconscious to subconscious to conscious mind. So helping train your body to be more relaxed, to reduce anxiety, taking those adaptogens, taking things like, my favorite is Magnolia, which has hanakiol and dihydrohanakiol beta as its metabolite. Those are very powerful substances. Potentially, like the cannabinoids can be very powerful substances depending on your endocannabinoid system. There's tons of research that needs to be done there. L-ergothioneine is a new ingredient I helped bring to the market. It's a longevity vitamin per Dr. Bruce Ames, the famed longevity researcher that Dr. Rhonda Patrick spun out of his lab. He did work on acetyl L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid. This is an ingredient your body cannot make. There's been a demonstrated deficiency for it. You can, with that deficiency, you can have a neurological decline. And we see that people are not consuming enough of it in the diet anymore. But here's where it gets really interesting is, of all the nutrients that I know of, there's none that have this unique transporter system. It's called the ergothioneine transporter, ETT, as well as a storage system, and it protects the mitochondria in particular, not just cellular antioxidant, but mitochondrial antioxidant. And when I talked to Ryan Smith the other day, the CEO of True Diagnostic, he's looked at over 1,000 substances, drugs, as well as supplements. And of all the things he looked at in terms of epigenetics, metabolomics, he said this one ingredient is the most powerful for anti-aging. So I do believe this will be a new multivitamin ingredient in the next few years. And again, more powerful than glutathione, CoQ10, vitamin C, very small doses. And the mitochondria can be depleted in these experiences. This is a neuroplasticity ingredient that I'm very excited about. Way outperforms lion's mane. 7,8-dihydroxyflavone, and its metabolite has less research but could be more powerful, so I'm taking the both. 4-DMA, dimethylamino 7,8-dihydroxyflavone. Nootropics Depot actually stocks these, so you can buy these. Dihydromycetin. This is an ingredient that protects the liver. It's been researched with alcoholism, but I've found that it helps you bounce back from some of these ingredients that can have some degree of toxicity to the body. And so this has been a powerful one that I've added into the mix. But it can help if you just have a night out drinking. This is a good ingredient to reduce that kind of hangover symptom. Paraxanthine, maybe you guys have tried to update. I've been associated with bringing this ingredient to market and involved in this company as well in Update. And we're doing a panel tomorrow with me, Ben Greenfield, Josh Trent, Luke Story, and Chris Gethin that I'm very excited about. Where we'll be talking about energy. We can talk a little bit about paraxanthine as well. But it has far less toxicity than caffeine, reduces anxiety versus caffeine, lower withdrawal habituation. This is where it gets exciting. It's neuroprotective, it's dopaminergic, meaning it increases dopamine. It increases nitric oxide by 50%, caffeine does not. Stronger adenosine antagonism, meaning more wakefulness than caffeine. And we're actually seeing, we just did a study with a 10K race where we saw after the race that caffeine increased mental errors 20%, paraxanthine decreased mental errors 10%. Huge difference in the experience. You feel a mood uplift. I don't know how many of you tried it, but I love it. I use it every single day. So that can help if you're feeling depleted, low on energy. And I just feel like caffeine is just a kind of drag you through the mud ingredient, whereas this is kind of optimizing you. Certainly optimizing brain health. We have a number of studies where we're showing greater neuroplasticity, decreased beta amyloid plaque, increased glutathione and catalase, again, increased dopamine, increased blood flow. It's making the brain healthier. And this is that pathway that I'm talking about. So you're just avoiding all the stuff in blue. And I'm trying to run through these as quickly as possible. So fasting, again, I think this is powerful. The reason this existed going into these journeys isn't just avoiding certain foods, avoiding pornography or sex, avoiding consumption of things. That does hold logic. But I think that it's really interesting that I'm seeing the power of BHB, and again, this is the right crowd to talk to, makes sense when co-administered with psychedelics. And I'll get into Dr. Matt Cook's theory on that too. So boosting ketones, this would be ways, again, this is the right crowd for this, that you could do that. I brought dihydroberberine to the market. That's the most effective AMP-K, GLP-1 ingredient there is, period. HIT, obviously, fasting, ketogenic diet, exogenous ketones, C8-MCTs. This is Paul Stamets' microdosing protocol. Again, I think the 7,8-dihydroxyflavone would be more effective than lion's mane. I do like niacin. I like a high dose of niacin, like I mentioned here, but you have to deal with the flushing, the paresthesia. This is the microdosing protocol with LSD. This often gets combined with other nootropics, things like N-acetyltyrosine. The ketamine reset. So this is really fascinating. Dr. Matt Cook, who delivers ketamine, at the same time when you're getting into that parasympathetic state, that relaxed state, where you're able to pull in, where you're able to be receptive, where you're able to make change easily, where default mode network is turned down, he's administering exosomes, stem cells, NAD drips, and he's getting incredible results. And this makes sense. Again, when you're sympathetic, when you're fight or flight, you're not going to be using these things very well. When you're in the other state, you're neuroplastic, you're parasympathetic, default mode network is down, ego is down. you can make use of these things. So this would be the prime time to do the full reset. So this is my list of stacks pre-journey. You don't have to do all these things again. This is just some ingredients that are advice. This is during the journey, something that you could just have in a water bottle. Just keep yourself hydrated. Post-journey, I'm getting a little bit more involved because I'm trying to work on repletion, helping you bounce back, helping you stay neuroplastic so that you can continue to make change with that facilitator that you're working with your integration work as they're holding you accountable. And then this is microdosing, which, some people don't want to do a journey, and this could be another path. Where you can have something that's sub-perceptual. If you're feeling it, it's no longer a microdose, it's a mini dose. Sub-perceptual means microdose, meaning you are not feeling it, but it's having an effect over time. So this is me in Costa Rica, having that smile, done the work. I'm continuing to do the work, but I've found love. My partner is up here, and my beautiful little girl here, Isla, I love you, and Hannah. And so I'm very blessed in finding love in a way that I never thought was possible. And so I'm thankful to you for helping me have the discussion, for talking to your friends, to people that are confused about this, about to go into these experiences, maybe doing it the wrong way, people that are resistant to the idea of this. You're helping me have this discussion and make impact. And again, I would not be here, I believe, without having gone down that path. So I'm very blessed that that was an option for me, that I could do that. And it's not an option for many. Maybe because, again, they just don't have the means. They're, persons of color. They're coming from a difficult place where they just can't see their way to these kinds of things. And that makes me sad. Really sad. I really want people that need it to have access to it and be able to do it safely. So I see you, I got you, I love you, thank you so much. And if you want access to this, get the stacks, scan the QR code, please follow me on Instagram. I would love that. We can continue the conversation there or after this talk. And certainly, again, I'll be at the panel tomorrow. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And I think we have 6 minutes for questions if anyone wants to ask a question.
I have a question.
Yep. It's super, I see 2 people from the stage. It's really hard to see. So forgive me if I have a lot of friends out here because I can't see you. So yeah.
Yeah. So I can't, your whole presentation was focused on the brain.
Yep.
And I cannot help but connect the brain and the gut.
Sure.
So, of course, the gut makes a lot of serotonin.
Sure. Yep.
Is there anybody doing studies that would show the impact on your gut? Because for me, if I take care of my brain and I take care of my gut, I'm 95% good, right? So are there any studies that you've done or anyone else with regards to maybe what's changed or what's improved or what's been impacted on the gut?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
When we're in fetal development, they are actually connected, and of course they stay connected. So all these neurotransmitters, about 70 to 80% of them are made in the gut, and that's where potentially a lot of depression can live if we're dysbiotic in our gut. This is definitely a different topic I talk about. I'm just presenting the research as I have it now, and certainly I'm presenting more the science side. I'm not capable at this moment of talking on more the woo side, the spiritual side, or extrapolating data that isn't there right now. But I do think that's a really great point, and I'm sure that will be an area of research in the next few years. That's a great point. Sorry, next question.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I really enjoyed the presentation. I'm a retired veteran, and
Oh, thank you for your service.
thank you. One of the bad issues that I suffered from was after 9/11. I was deployed quite a bit, and even though throughout my whole life, even from a kid, I experienced some issues with anxiety and depression. But once once I was deployed, and in especially the amount of time I was deployed, I developed, my anxiety levels went basically through the roof. And through the VA and also on the private medicine side, I was always treated with a lot of SSRIs, which I found really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been learning a lot about psychedelic treatments, and the VA seems to be experimenting with that and offering it to some of the veterans that have gone through suffered with PTSD and severe
That's
anxiety.
amazing.
Yeah, there's a big article in one of the VA publications about that. And I guess my question is, I hear a lot about it and I read a lot about it. Exactly, I'm trying to visualize when you get treatment for psychedelics. Is there any issues with actually having the opposite effect, where instead of mellowing out, is there a chance that you can be treated and it goes in the opposite, where you just basically freak out, which you see with sometimes with drug problems, where it isn't that mellow high you get, but it's completely the opposite? Are there any issues with that? And I guess my other is there insurance-wise for treatments for it? Is there is there issues with that being accepted by
Insurance-wise,
companies?
everything's changing, so we'll see
Thank
where
you.
things are going in the next few years. Yeah. As far as, certain serious mental conditions, maybe like bipolar, multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, like there's certainly concerns about having like a psychotic break. But that's super complicated. Like, I think I would encourage you to have discussions like when it comes to those things with the right facilitators, the right practitioners, because it's so bio-individual, and it could be very related to, again, mindset and the setting. But obviously neurochemistry plays a part in all this. So that's a complex one, but I can't answer that clearly. So, and I'm not the doctor here, I'm just presenting the research as it is to me. But I love hearing that the VA is getting involved like that, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Hi.
Hi.
First, I heard you speak 3 years ago about microdosing, and I've been interested ever since. There's an echo. But my question is, I've been interested in it. Is there an echo?
I don't hear it.
For my anxiety, but I have heard from other people who have tried microdosing, and kind of follow up to his question, they haven't been able to get out of allowing those feelings to come forward, and it's made things worse. So their anxiety has heightened, depression has heightened, so traumas have come forward, and they have not been able to get out of that after things wear off, like DMT or ayahuasca.
Yeah. I can have 30 seconds. Like, this is a very complex one. Here's what I'd say is you need to do the work. You need to have the integration. Often these experiences will bring things up that make things more difficult, but that's where a facilitator can come in. And people often do these experiences and don't do the additional work. They think they're going to go into ayahuasca. I did this big experience. I crapped myself. I blah, whatever. And then that's it. It's just this wonderful epiphany and I'm gone. Things don't work like that. And certainly traumas will come up. Knowledge from the past will come up. Difficulties will come up. Your truth is coming up. And if you go back to your regular life and push aside what was the truth, what was the learnings, and just go back to being you again, now instead of having deniable plausibility, I guess, like denying what the truth was like you've been doing for years, now you know the truth and you're not doing it. So this can create that cognitive dissonance that can lead to more issues. So I would say that part of it, a big part of it, is doing the work, because those things are supposed to come up. It's not all just like love and light and you're fixed. It's what needs to come up will come up. This is your subconscious working its way through things. But once you have that trauma, you're aware of it, work through it, you can release it.
Okay.
So they just haven't done the part where they release it yet, to my thought.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Just one quick one.
Okay.
When you talked about the micro dosing, not
Yep.
doing the full experience, I mean, do you do this while you're going to work? I mean, is this like?
Well, I'm not going to make
you know what-
recommendations, but it's sub-perceptual.
Okay.
So this isn't something that's altering you on a kind of, again, perceptual level. This is something that over months, depending on how you dose these things and the protocols you use, you could use Paul Stamets' protocol. That's pretty well researched. You could go on places like Third Wave and look it up.
Okay.
There's different protocols for different people. You can try out different doses, different nutrients to support
Okay,
it.
so you can do this and still go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to stop.
100%.
And we're doing it in Texas?
I mean, people are.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's all legal, but it's happening. Change is happening. All right, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.